Okay, let's talk about a problem we all see every single day when we're scrolling online. Our conversations are just broken. But what if the fix isn't some new app or a fancy algorithm? What if the blueprint for better, more ethical communication has actually been sitting around for about 700 years?
So let's just dive right in. I mean, why does it feel like our public discourse has completely fallen apart? Why is it so hard to have a real, productive discussion about anything important anymore? It's a question that, I think we're all wrestling with.
And the symptoms are everywhere, right? You've got misinformation that spreads like wildfire, divisive propaganda that's literally designed to pit us against each other, and a media environment that's all about grabbing your attention, not necessarily telling you the truth. It just feels like we've totally lost the art of respectful discussion. That right there, that's the crisis we're living through.
But what if the answer isn't something new? What if the key to fixing this mess comes from, well, a 700-year-old philosophy? It sounds a little wild, I know, but today we're going to look to the 13th century and a thinker named St. Thomas Aquinas to find some serious clarity.
So who was this guy, Thomas Aquinas? Well, he was born into this noble Italian family, and let's just say they were not thrilled when he decided to join the Dominican order to become a scholar. But he did it anyway, and he ended up studying under this brilliant mind, Albertus Magnus. And that single move, it basically set him on a path to become one of the most influential thinkers in all of Western history.
You know, there is a fantastic story about him. Apparently, Aquinas was a big guy, and he was super quiet in class, so his classmates started calling him the dumb ox to make fun of him. But his teacher, Albertus Magnus, saw something else entirely. He saw this incredible mind at work, and famously said that this so-called dumb ox would one day be heard all around the world. Turns out, he was absolutely right.
So what made Aquinas' voice so powerful? It really came down to his process. Let's pull back the curtain and deconstruct the engine of his thinking, what's called the four-step Scholastic Method.
Okay, so at its heart, the Scholastic Method is a system for finding truth. But here's the really important part. It's not about winning an argument. It's not about proving how right you are. The entire goal is to look at a question from every possible angle, using logic and respect, to get as close as you can to what is actually true.
And this is how it works step by step. First up, the objections. You actually start by laying out all the arguments against your own position, and not just weak versions of those arguments, the strongest, most convincing ones you can find. Then, step 2, the Sed Contra. Here you introduce a quote from an authority, like a great philosopher, that points in a different direction. Step 3 is the Responsio. This is where you finally give your own detailed, logical answer to the question. And then finally, step 4, the Replies. You have to circle all the way back and address every single one of those original objections one by one. It's incredibly thorough.
But here's what you've got to get. This is so much more than just a formula. It's a method that's built on some really powerful values. We're talking about intellectual honesty, a deep, genuine respect for ideas you disagree with, a serious commitment to logic, and above everything else, this relentless, systematic search for truth.
Okay, so it's a fascinating medieval process, for sure. But how on earth does any of this apply to our world of 24-hour news and social media? Well, let's take a look at how this ancient blueprint can be applied to some very modern jobs.
And this is where it gets really practical. For a journalist, it means presenting multiple perspectives fairly. That's literally step 1, the objections. For anyone in debate, it's about focusing on the argument, not attacking the person. For people in strategic communications, it's a model for persuading with logic and ethics. It's basically a framework for media ethics that's all about finding the truth and fighting misinformation.
And this slide really nails a critical difference. The Scholastic Method is all about ethical persuasion. It seeks truth, it builds trust, and it respects its audience. The total opposite of that is manipulation, which twists the truth, destroys credibility, and just completely erodes public trust. One aims to enlighten, the other just aims to deceive.
So this brings us right back to where we started. In our crazy, chaotic digital age, Aquinas' philosophy isn't just some historical curiosity. It's a timeless, urgent call for integrity and for responsibility in how we all communicate.
The bedrock of this whole system is this one powerful, simple idea. Truth corresponds to reality. It's objective, it exists whether we like it or not, whether it's popular or not, whether it gets 1 million likes or 0. Truth is not a popularity contest. It just is.
So here's the big takeaway for all of us. Whether you're a journalist, a content creator, or just someone posting on social media,
This way of thinking demands three things from us. First, a commitment to truth and accuracy. Second, the integrity to be honest. And third, the moral responsibility to realize that our words have real-world consequences.
And yet, for all of his genius, Aquinas stayed incredibly humble. Near the end of his life, he had this profound mystical experience, and he just stopped writing. He famously said, "All that I have written seems like straw compared to what I have seen." It's just a powerful reminder that the search for truth is a journey, not just an intellectual exercise.
So, look, this isn't just some abstract history lesson. This is a practical tool that we can all use. Which brings me to a final question I want to leave you with. What's one conversation, maybe at work, online, or even with your family, that you could make better using this method?